Hi everyone, I'm Alex and today I'm going to be talking about The Fault in Our Stars. I read this book last year, so I was pretty late on the bandwagon, but not as late because I wanted to watch it before a film would come out, and I knew eventually they would make a film because of the popularity of the book. I'd never picked up any John Green before. I knew my brother had read some of his books, but I'd just never gone there. I don't know why, but as soon as everyone started getting excited about The Fault in Our Stars, I decided to just go and buy it to see what all the fuss was about, basically. Whenever a book is really popular, I tend to think it's just overhyped. And if you're like an avid reader, you read a lot of books, you go for an overhyped book to see what all the fuss is about, or because you're genuinely interested into what it's going to be like. And that's why I picked up The Fault in Our Stars. It's not very often that I go into a bookshop and just pick up a random book by an author I've never read before, but because it was so popular, I just decided to go for it. Now, I think this is one of those books where you can't read it stretched out over a long period of time. I think it's the type of book that you read quite quickly, because if you take ages to read it, it kind of loses its flow. It's hard to explain, but it's got quite a this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. And I think if you take ages to read it, it kind of loses that, and then maybe the things that happen in the book don't seem as exciting because you've kind of forgotten what happened at the beginning and what things were like at the beginning. Now, I'd just like to put in a warning here. I think this review is going to include spoilers. I'm not quite sure because I'm quite bad at planning videos. This is my first video, so I don't know if it will contain any spoilers. So if you haven't read it, I wouldn't recommend. Yeah, okay. First off, I thought the tone was incredibly unique. It was the type of book that I'd never read before, and maybe for that kind of, I put that into a subgenre of that subgenre of book, kind of the teenage, not your typical nerdy book thing. I'm bad at explaining subgenres if you hadn't already got that. The tone was just something I'd never come across before, and I really liked it. It was as if Hazel was writing the book, which I think John Green was meant to make us believe, but it worked, and I couldn't think that it was a guy writing it. It just seemed like it would be Hazel and no one else. The tone was just so, it was an extremely protagonist voice, and for a teenage book I think that's really important, because the main thing you want to do is make your teenage readers relate. And even if there are like adults reading it, which I think everyone's reading this book, they can look back into what kind of feelings they felt. And it's different because Hazel is not your average teenager. She is suffering from cancer, but she still has that voice that I think every teenager can relate to and look back at themselves and think, yeah, I've thought that sometimes, or I feel that about my family. And I think that was probably one of the most interesting things about the book for me, because I like it when I can relate to a character, and I find the book so much more enjoyable to read when I actually like the character. And I liked Hazel. In a lot of books I don't like the protagonist. For The Fault in Our Stars, I did. So that's good, I guess. Also, the protagonist voice normalised Hazel in a way. I mean, events happen in the book, like when she's in the mall or something, and a girl comes up to her and is like, oh, what's that? And she's like, oh yeah, it's my air because I need it to breathe because I can't breathe on my own. Those kind of instances make us think that maybe she's not normal, but when people don't ask her questions about her condition, why she has to carry around that suitcase thing she has to carry around, we see her as a girl who has cancer. But when it's just her speaking, and with John Green's voice that he puts into her, it normalises her and makes us be able to relate to her more, which I think is different. In another book about a cancer sufferer, and you think you feel sorry for them or you just sympathise, whereas I think you can kind of empathise with Hazel, not with the fact that she has cancer, but the fact that she goes through the same things that we go through, and in that way we're the same. I know I'm talking about the tone quite a lot, but it's something I do quite often with books, so if you find it really boring, then I'm sorry. I'm not sure, but I don't think that John Green was trying to make it a sad book. He might have, I don't know, but if that was me, I don't think that he would have been trying to make a book where people are going to cry buckets of tears into their pillow at night. I think he was trying to make a book that would make people think more than make people just wail. Sorry. I found it more sad that the tone wasn't sad. The fact that Hazel wasn't really afraid of dying, but was more kind of regretful that she had this condition and that it would shorten her life. I found it more sad that she was just accepting that. And obviously she couldn't, I mean, there wouldn't have been much point for her to, everything's just going to sound wrong. There wouldn't have been much point of Hazel just throughout all the pages of the book saying, why me, why me, why me, why me? Because although that would be sad, because we know that it's a helpless situation, she would be sad for us, so as the reader we wouldn't have the need to be sad. But in The Fault in Our Stars, because Hazel isn't as sad as we think she should be, I think that makes it more upsetting, and I think that's the reason why I found it really sad. Another instance where a book has, or an author has used this in a book, is The Help by Catherine Stockett, and it is a really sad book. I found it more sad than The Fault in Our Stars. It's about black maids working in the Deep South, I think it's set in the 1950s. And because the main characters were just trying to get on with their lives and just not complain about anything and just accept it, I found it really, really upsetting. And the fact that with The Fault in Our Stars and The Help, I don't know why I brought The Help into this, but there you go, mini review of The Help. I found them more sad because in both situations there's nothing that much you can do about it. But just as we've, just as civil rights have been introduced and everyone is now free in their own country and everyone's treated properly, not everyone's treated properly, but that situation has changed in America. We are beating cancer as well. We are getting closer to beating cancer, so maybe we should be happy to some extent that things are going to change eventually. I read a lot of reviews gearing up to this video because I didn't want to be completely on my own in what I was saying, and I came across a mini review and it used a word that I kind of want to use, but at the same time I don't know whether people would find it offensive or rude in a way. The Fault in Our Stars isn't self-indulgent, and the reason why I'm not sure about using that word is because you can't really tell a cancer sufferer not to be self-indulgent, because they're dealing with something that we can't even bear to imagine having to deal with. So I don't think self-indulgent is the right word, but it is the right word that I want to use here. I want to say The Fault in Our Stars is not a self-indulgent book and Hazel isn't self-indulgent. At the same time, I don't want to use that word because I don't think it is possible for a sufferer of any illness or disability or condition to be called self-indulgent. It's quite matter-of-fact in the way it tells the story and the way it goes about things, and that's what I like about it, because it moves forward and you can clearly see where it's going. Even though I didn't see where it was going, you can see the book as a kind of journey. I can't believe I just said journey, because journey. You can see it going towards a specific point, and it starts at a specific point, and Augustus is in the middle and he complicates things, and I like that about books where you can wait. I like it when you don't know what's happening. No. Now this might just be me, and I think it is me because of all my friends who I've talked to, they all saw this coming. But me, being me, I had no clue whatsoever. And spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, I didn't see Gus dying. I thought that Hazel was just going to die because she was the dying patient at first, so I thought it would end with her dying. And it was just sad that the boy who's meant to come in and, you know, make her life better and make her happier, he was the one who would end up dying and leaving her. And although at the end she says, yes, I am happy, I wasn't happy. Turns out Hazel doesn't die, Gus dies, so plot twist for you there. So, well done John Green for playing with my emotions. Thank you. So I hope you've enjoyed my mini review of The Fault in Our Stars. There'll be a video coming up soon with 5 writing tips you can learn from The Fault in Our Stars. And I hope you've enjoyed this video. I don't know how to end videos. Okay, bye.